one of the best things about Bread Radio is connecting with other folks that also love games just like us. So just wanted to highlight a partner podcast called Game Johns here, and that's GameJawns, Game Johns. Join Riley and her crew as they delve into everything games, from upcoming titles and nostalgic classics to game development and intriguing interviews. Learn and laugh alongside this ragtag team of indie devs. Whether you want to philosophize about the definition of games, discuss the hype behind virtual reality, or discover games you've never heard of, Game Johns is the crew for you. For all things Game Johns, check out allmylinks.com/GameJohns and check out their Twitter at GameJohns, GameJawns, for all news and announcements. Now to your regularly scheduled Bread programming. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bread Radio. I'm your host, August Acker, a.k.a. Bread, joined as always by my co-host, Greg Toplitsky. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing well, man. Other than I've kind of been hearing some reports of lizard people being responsible for most of the eggs at our local grocery stores. I don't know. I'll get back to you at the top.
As you guys know, Bread Radio is a podcast with video games. We're all the way up to episode 21, Old Enough to Drink. This podcast is nothing here. I just got a seltzer today, trying to do a dry January. I don't know. Haley and I are doing a dry January for the most part. Like few exceptions, I'll say. Like we had a few drinks for the Steelers Browns game, which obviously didn't go our way. And I thought about having a drink for the Buckeyes game too, which also didn't go my way. It's been a bad week in sports for me. But January 14th, Thursday, the year 2021, we're in the full swing of things. 2 weeks into the new year, it's kind of flown by. Of course, you can listen to Bread Radio wherever you do podcasts. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube. Usually a couple days later. I actually create a little link tree. So just like an aggregate for all of our links, linktree.com/breadradio. So you'll find our Twitch, you'll find YouTube, you'll find Patreon on there. I urge you guys to take a look. The link is on my Twitter account as well as my Instagram, which is at It's Bread Time. If you have any feedback for the show, questions, concerns, favorite types of crackers, why can you not just eat one pretzel, write that into breadradiolive@gmail.com or corrections. And I think that just about covers it, man. So how was your week, Greg? Tell me about it.
Well, I mean, for starters, the Bills won, so that was big.
Mm-hmm.
It was not fun to watch because it was just full of anxiety.
Yeah.
It was not a clean victory, but I'll take it. I've never seen them win a playoff game, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. Last time they were winning playoff games, you were in diapers, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, I kind of had a slightly different experience with football than you, but it's just cool. But like similar to what you're saying about like a dry January, similar type of thing. But I took a shot after that game because I was just like so amped up that I just needed like something. Like I just couldn't, like sit still. I didn't sit down until close to near the end of the game. And I was standing up again because I just couldn't like sit down and just watch it.
Right.
It just was too much.
Right.
So, good times, scary times, fun times. I don't know.
Yeah, the Browns fans in my house obviously were very pleased. And after I got past the initial assault, I mean the Steelers weren't a good football team this year. They really weren't. So Browns go to the next round. That was like their Super Bowl for them. It's all gravy from here, I imagine. But some more sports ball on the docket, and then of course we all watched our Ohio State Buckeyes sort of sputter out. I don't know. It was kind of unfortunate. There were some injuries.
To be fair,
it's just Bama too.
They were a much worse team this year than they were last year, and
right.
I think they were still like, they clearly beat Clemson handedly, but I just think that Bama was head and shoulders above the competition this year, and that's just kind of what we saw.
Right.
come out of that game is just the better team. The better team won. Like
Yeah.
it just was. Like I mean, it sucks to say that like we're just not as good as Bama was this year, but that's just the long and short of it. You can be upset about it, like a
I
team
mean, no
losing,
one,
but
right? No one
we
was.
deserved to lose that game. Like we rightfully lost. Bama was much better.
Right. I feel like I was less depressed about that one. I was just like, yeah, it was like it was just like how I said the Browns fans were like, we beat Clemson. That was our speed bump. Like, and we got over it. And it was just like, if we win, awesome. If we don't, like, at least we made a statement, I guess. So, hockey's starting up, also, right? Like, you're a hockey fan.
Yeah, I am somewhat. I mean,
Is it just preseason right now, or are they doing preseason?
yeah, I'm not really sure what their plan is. I used to follow hockey a lot more. I just have cared about it less and less as I've gotten older. I don't know why. I just have. Like it just. Like the Sabres have just been bad for so long now that like I think my overall like levels of caring have just like sputtered
But I feel
downward.
like you always cared about the Bills, though, right? Was there just more hope?
Yeah,
Was
I
there
mean,
more hope there for some reason?
no, I just like football better. I mean, I like hockey, but like the game itself is a lot different. At
Yeah.
least it feels a lot different than when I was younger. Like when I was younger, um, the ice felt more open, whereas now like you have bigger athletes and like the goalies are like 6'5" instead of like 5'9", so like they're taking up the full net, and
Right.
it's all about like you take a like imagine soccer, but instead of setting up the perfect goal, you just kind of shot the
Is it
ball at
volume?
the goal and just hope for a rebound tap in,
Right.
and that's what hockey has devolved into
Right.
recently. So, like
You know,
the high skill plays just don't exist in the same manner as they used to, so the game just isn't as much fun as it used to be, in my opinion.
like weirdly enough for me, like I like watching football on TV. I don't I don't necessarily I will go to a football game, but like I don't necessarily need to. I would rather go to a hockey game than watch it on TV. I think it's kind of
Agree with
like
that
it's like
100%.
opposite for me.
But I think that, and I don't know what your football, in person. I know like you went to a bunch of Buckeyes games as a student there,
Steelers
but
games I've gone to a few.
but there is a huge difference, in my opinion, of being at a live football game versus watching it at home.
Yeah.
Because at home, you are subject to only watching a portion of the field. You cannot see who's open downfield. You can't really like you can say like all you want, like, oh, like why didn't he throw it to that guy? But you have no idea what the quarterback's even able to see, and it just kind of is like a weird dynamic where you don't actually get to see everything that's out there. And
Mhm.
so I do like miss, especially given how the Bills are playing this year, going to games live, because like there's just some element there that's just missing completely, without being able to go.
No, yeah, I totally get that. Like being able to watch the entire play develop like a chess match
Yeah.
is pretty fun. They're I don't know, those games are just so long. I just remember specifically Buckeye games, right? Back in our day, like it's $10 for a beer or more. Like so everyone loads up ahead of time. So everyone's just sloppy, everyone's packed in. If it's a good game, like if you're playing another good team, like it's exciting. Like there's a buzz if it's a night game. But otherwise, like you're just going to watch one team destroy the other. So like usually if I'm at home, like I'm just like, all right, halftime, we're up by 40 points. Let's play another game or do something else. And put the game on in the background. I guess that's
Yeah, I get that.
how I feel about it, I guess. I don't know. That said, if they're like, yo, you can go to a Steelers game, the opener next year, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's go. I just don't think I need to go every weekend, I guess.
Yeah. No, I get that completely. And like there's no wrong way to enjoy something.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just think that
totally.
there's I think that hockey definitely is a more enjoyable person. I think football I can see, like just in general, I think they just do a better job at the broadcast, and I think that there is something to be said with the pace of play just being too high in certain sports where
Mhm.
it's just hard to follow it and like track it without being there and like having like the scope of what's in front of you,
Right.
just in front of you.
No, you said there's no wrong way to enjoy something, and all I could think about were wrong ways to enjoy things. Like, what if you had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but the jelly and the peanut butter was on the outside of the bread? Like, that feels
Do
wrong.
you really think that's
right?
wrong?
I think at its core, it's wrong. Yeah.
But are you saying that just because you've never experienced it, or you truly believe that that's not a possible way to enjoy it?
No, I feel like the only way you enjoy it is by like taking joy in upsetting other people. Like I don't think anyone sits there at home by themselves
I mean, like, don't
and
get me
has
wrong,
a sandwich like that.
like it would be incredibly difficult to hold.
I mean, you'd hold it. You would just need like a lot of paper towels or be eating directly over the sink.
But I think
So
it still would have the same impact.
would it? I mean,
Yeah,
no,
for
it'd have
sure.
it would have a totally different mouthfeel because you wouldn't have like you would get either the jelly or the peanut butter on your tongue
Well,
directly right away.
right, you get more flavor is what you're trying to say. You wouldn't have like
No, you
that.
don't get more.
You
You
wouldn't
get the
have
same
that.
amount of
You wouldn't
flavor.
have
No,
that carby condom of bread just right on your tongue. You'd just
no,
have
no,
like
no,
the
You get
peanut butter and jelly.
you get the
directly.
same. You get the same amount of flavor. It just hits you differently. Because no. Well, here's the thing. You still. I guess my argument is there's no reason to put the bread. There's no reason to eat it like that because you should just eat it open faced at that point.
I
right?
mean, you are. It's it's a modern take on an open face sandwich.
Is it modern? I don't think that's modern either.
I think it is.
All right. Well, Bread Radio
Well,
Live
it's
at
like
Gmail.
isn't there like a KFC thing where they have like the chicken sandwich where there's no bread, it's just chicken, right?
Oh, the double down. Well, that's just no bread. Like how you don't do that. Like
But it's
If-
like the same principle, right?
I don't know if it's the same principle because in that case the chicken is taking on the role of the bread. In this, there's the bread is still the
No, the
bread.
peanut butter is the bread, and the bread is the peanut butter.
Yeah, that doesn't work because there's still breading on the chicken. I mean, I guess you could get it grilled too, but I don't know. Breadradiolive at gmail.com. Tell us what you think. This is a podcast, as I said, with video games, so I guess we could talk about a few. Greg, you play anything this week, Greg?
And a lot of snack-based commentary.
It's mostly snack
No,
based
not really. I was pretty busy this week, so I really didn't get to play too much. I played Warzone a decent amount because one of my friends, who is not able to like be at his house very frequently because his little brother goes to school still in Canada, and he just has a immune compromised disease, so he doesn't spend a ton of time at home. So when he is, we get to play Warzone. So that's what my free time I spent playing.
They changed the
good
meta
and
up this
bad.
week, I think, right?
Yeah, they made a lot of good improvements to the game. I think that there's still probably some more nerfs needed, but I'd actually prefer frequent nerfs that are too slight than just destroying weapons and different things like that. I think that there's in terms of balance when it comes to multiplayer games, it really depends on like I guess the system that game uses. So something like Valorant, you have instant access to all of the weaponry, but you unlock characters, which I guess still has an element of this. But I don't think like like with Warzone, the DMR was completely broken. It was this kind of single shot rifle that was just great from all ranges and just was way too quick to kill something.
Mhm.
And so the problem with just taking that gun and saying we remove it from the space after 2 weeks of people constantly abusing it is that you had so many people that are not able to just instantly have it leveled up like some of the streamers are. And I mean, like some of those streamers and influencers, they have
I mean,
people
they're paid to
for
play.
them.
They're paid to
Well,
play.
but they also have people play for them to unlock those things.
Do
You
they?
can't tell me, yeah, you can't tell me that like they don't have people that are just grinding the game for them on the side. Like, hey, look, if I'm making 6 figures a month to play Warzone, you think I'm spending my off time leveling up a gun in Black Ops Cold War?
No.
Yeah,
Definitely
I
not.
mean that's just like the straight truth of it. Is they're not, but I mean some of them probably have to, but the really big ones that make all of that get a lot of the viewership, they don't level them up.
Was that weapon, that DMR, was that a Cold War weapon?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. That was going to be my next question.
Basically, it had sniper like attributes, but used assault rifle ammo, which is you're able to have more of it on your character at a given time. You can have 210 rounds of it versus 40 rounds of it.
Right.
But it had the same damage profile as a sniper. So it was like 2 shots to kill somebody or down them.
2?
Totally busted. Yeah. Totally
2
busted.
and you could have like 150 rounds? That's insane.
Yeah, you could have 210 rounds plus another 30 in the mag.
Yeah, and I've seen some like crazy shotgun. Like I've been I think I enjoy watching Warzone, weirdly enough. I just don't think I like playing it that much. I really don't.
I think the big issue is that like with watching versus playing Warzone is you like and this is something we talked about before is like cuz we talked about like the skill cap of certain games, and I think that professional quote unquote players of Warzone, their skill cap is so freaking high that you just can't, like, the way that they play is very enjoyable and looks like a blast, but the average person cannot put together, a 20 kill, 25 kill game every third game.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just
of
not
course.
possible.
Well,
I'm just not, I don't have the time investment to do that. I
right.
mean, I get close, I put up like 15 bangers, pretty decently normal for me, but like
Nice
I
flex.
can't get to like that level where I'm like really able to flex on people and just
Right.
like all my fights still have like some anxiety because like they're very coin flippy for me, where it's for them it's like, yeah, this is like, I know, because like battle royale, there's just so many different parts of the map that you have to get used to, like different building types and things like that,
Right.
and you got to put in the work to do that, and I just don't do that. So
Right.
I mean, I put in work at my job that does not get
Right.
paid for me to play video games.
Well,
So
yeah, I mean that's kind of I mean, I won't we won't talk too much about Warzone, I guess, because we've done it ad nauseum recently. But like, I don't know. I think I enjoy watching it more because when I watch them play, it's almost it's weird that I'm saying this, but it almost doesn't look fun to me. Like they're just like they're spazzing out so hard, like hot, like the whole time, just like high sensitivity, grabbing things, like running to the next place. That like I just don't want to deal with that. I'd rather do something more like methodical and tactical. Not saying that there
yeah,
aren't tactical
I think
aspects
that's
to
like
Warzone. It's
a
just like
portion
too
of the
much.
game though, right? Like that's like the opening few minutes of any battle royale, because you have to get your guns and your loot to then move forward and progress.
I
But
know. I mean, you
once
just
you
watch
have
some of the
like all of
guys. They have
your
their heli
loot,
and they just like don't stop. You know, they're just like next
yeah,
place, next place. There's a guy there, next place. And I get it. They're making content, right? So that makes sense.
and
But
honestly, like it really caters to my ADHD because I just keep them see moving. I'm like, yeah, yeah, get
yeah,
it,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. Next building. What's
whatever.
up? Like,
But
yeah, I catch that myself doing that too. I'm just opening boxes, even though like I don't need to and don't need anything. Like I'm just
yep.
like, fuck it, open it. Let's see what's in here.
But
Video
the
games.
point I was gonna make though is I think when it comes to nerfing things in video games, and this doesn't just apply to Warzone, but it's really just any video game, if there is a time spend that goes into unlocking said equipment, if a party, if the developer to the game or whoever's responsible for the balance in the game
Hmm.
instantly nerfs it, all of those people who spent time or money to buy Cold War in this instance, but whatever the case may be, maybe it's something in like in Valorant where you could buy points to unlock a character.
Hmm.
You are instantly telling them that they are a waste, that they're wasting their time and money, um, because now they can't trust you that their money is gonna get the value because they wanted to play with the DMR or they wanted to play with Omen or whatever game it is, and so I think that like it's like a really tough dynamic for developers to find, like how long do we let this go, or when is our break point here,
Yeah.
because yeah, like if
Well,
it's a problem and it's not fun to play against, but everyone's still playing with it, and they, I doubt that their numbers of players, active players, went down.
right.
It might have, and then like, but if they nerf it too soon and there was some drop off there, then you have the players who grinded their butts off to unlock what they needed to or paid money to unlock what they needed to, feeling cheated that they didn't get to enjoy it like other people did. So I don't know. It's a
Well,
really
I
tough
mean,
spot for developers.
I don't know who to attribute this to, but there's like a quote, and I'm totally messing this up, but it's like
You can just attribute it to me. It's fine.
you don't patch with a hammer, you patch with a chisel. So like just you make slight changes, otherwise you like change the core of your game. Like I think they were
Yeah, and I
talking about
agree
an
with
MMO.
that. That's probably why I said it.
Right. That
Yeah.
is yeah.
I,
It was you last week, episode 20 probably. So, any other games?
I played some Hearthstone Battlegrounds just because I can like do that passively. But
Right. Did we talk about
nothing to it.
what Battlegrounds actually is? Like I don't really
Yeah, it's
understand
like
how
an auto
different it
chess
is.
sort of game.
Auto chest, okay.
Yeah. So
But is it with the
you
cards?
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it uses like Hearthstone's normal boardscape, which you can have up to 7 different creatures on, and every round you have a certain amount of gold, in which in between fights with other players, there's a shop where you can buy different creatures from, and
Hmm.
there's different synergies, and basically you build up your team, I guess, for lack of a better word, or war band, I think is how the game coins it, and you try to unlock, try to buy things that fit play style or what you're trying to go for, and there's different heroes that have different abilities that can synergize with whatever you're trying to build.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it's time to fight, the minions attack from left to right, and it's all random who goes first and who they're what other creature they're going to attack. So you try to like place certain units in certain places if they are like support units to help out your synergies and things like that. So it's nice because it's a little bit it's PvP, but there's like a solitaire element to it where you're not like actively just against one person constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So you just kind of like build whatever you want and just kind of have fun with it. And there's not really like you don't really have you can either try to play really competitively, or you can just try to do wacky different stuff that's cool or different. So I like it.
Yeah, that's cool. I haven't really picked up much Hearthstone since we last chatted. Any other games before? I was gonna segue into mine, but
nothing of note. I've been really busy this last week and a half. So
yeah, makes sense.
Well, at least since last Thursday, I guess. Yeah, it's been exactly a week this time. So yeah.
Yeah, we're trying. I'm trying to get us on that closer to that week schedule. It just kind of worked out with the holidays that like 10 days made sense, but I'm hoping we can pump out maybe like 4 a month or something. Anyway, yeah, most of my time this week has been in more Persona 5. I'm pretty into the game, honestly. Like I think there's so much like that game's there's so much in that game, and I think they don't really do themselves any like the game doesn't do itself any favors. Like it goes out of its way to like over explain things, and like all the characters talk about everything all the time, whether it be in text message or in person, and it's just like it's so much exposition all the time that like I find myself like
frustrating, I imagine.
But it's weird because like they're self-aware because there's literally a fast forward like button, so when you're going through like dialogue, you can hit the option or start button and fast forward through dialogue and then look through the log if you need to, which is crazy that like that's their solution for that. But furthermore, it's just a little weird. Like maybe I mean it's a Japanese game, right? So like there's just different styles of development. But it's just weird to me that they feel the need to pack all this exposition in all the time, because the themes of the game are like very adult. Like it's murder and sexual abuse and all sorts of stuff and conspiracy. So it's not like it's a game made for kids. So like you have to explain everything over and over again what you should do. So it's just kind of like I feel like it's inflating my playtime a little bit. I think I'm up about 50. This is just a wild guess, but somewhere between 50 and 60 hours now. That being said, like the like actual gameplay I'm having a good time with, like the progression is pretty satisfying. Like you build the relationships with all the other characters and those give you different buffs. And like the side storylines with all those characters are interesting enough that I want to see them. And like there's the breaks in the gameplay are actually like going between being a regular like student and like citizen of Japan, and then also being this like phantom thief character that does the turn-based combat. It's kind of nice. Like it's different enough that if I get bored of one, I can kind of just like jump back into the other for a few days, because it goes like day to day. So I'm definitely going to keep plugging through that game, but it's weirdly enough, I just enjoy the story bits like the most. So I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I actually made like the executive decision to just like play on easy so I can enjoy the game, because the first time I played, I didn't play like I'm playing Persona 5 Royal, which is like the updated version with some quality of life improvements and new stuff. But when I played the original, like I got to a part with a boss that I couldn't beat, and like the only options I had were try again, which I just kept trying and failing, or like go back a week in game time, in game days to like make different decisions and like prepare for this battle. And I was like, I don't want to do that at all. So I was thinking about that this week, and I was kind of curious what your thoughts were. Like, are there any games that you just play like Do you ever just play a game on easy just to get through it and play it, or are you all about like?
I usually don't like easy, usually not, but at the same time, usually not anything more than like the normal or hard. I never really go for like veteran or whatever
Right.
the or like advanced or whatever or like suicide mode or whatever like they
Yeah,
call or
like
label their
you'll kill your family
crazy
mode.
because the issue that I have with it is like especially like with most of the games that I play that are not story based or PV like whatever it's called PVE um is that they're all FPSs and I know how bots and FPSs are coded and like I know how people cheat in those games and it's all like aim lock, aim bot and that's all that like the then computer elements have. It's not like they do anything that's like crazy smart or different. It's just that they just instantly like you just get like one shotted out of nowhere or like like it's not really like there's like a certain element
Mhm.
of it that doesn't have predictability to it where you're just kind of like getting like just destroyed and that to me just doesn't have like a lot of value. So I just like I don't ever feel like I need the challenge. Like I usually like the games I play are usually more so I select games more so based on the story and the mystery within it and not necessarily like just solely based off of like the combat systems.
Right.
So I'm usually like usually
Uh,
not easy, but usually
right.
not like anything too difficult. There are times though where I get stuck and then I like toggle down and then toggle up if I just don't
Right.
feel like like the boss fight is really that worth my time.
Yeah, I if it's a shooter, like almost never. Like I'll never just play on easy. Like there's no reason for me, and that's not like a flex or anything. It's just like I've been playing shooters for so long. But like Persona's a JRPG that like I'm not super familiar with, so like I just didn't want to end up in another scenario where I like make a bad decision and it just like screws my whole game, or like tanks my enthusiasm. Like for example, I also had in here I played like just a smidge more Immortals. I don't know what it is. Like I haven't been wanting to jump into it much lately. I think I just burned myself out on that Ubisoft open world with Valhalla because I really like I straight up like pushed my head through that brick wall with Valhalla. So I was just like, I think I just need some time away from that style of game. But when I did start playing it, I was like, screw it, yeah, I just beat Valhalla. I'll play it on hard. And then like in some of those games, hard is just like enemies have more health and do more damage to you. And it's just like, man, do I really want to slog through another like 50 or 60 hours just to say I did beat it on hard, or do I just want to like play and see the story and explore the world and I don't know. Well, like I think we talked about like junk food games, and it's not really junk food, but like for me, it's just like I just want to enjoy the experience. Like I'm not trying to impress anyone right now. So, I was just curious what you thought about that.
Yeah, that's basically like where I'm at with those type of games as well. Is like I don't know, like the experience is so tied in with the story, and like there's a break in immersion every time that you die, right?
Right.
To some extent. So if you're not like chasing that, like oh I want to beat on the hardest difficulty, there isn't always a ton of value on playing it on like the hardest difficulty, unless
Right.
it's a game that like you're thick and thin, you're gonna like beat it, and you want that kind of extra challenge.
Yeah, like there are a few games like maybe like a Spider-Man or something I would play on a harder mode just to like try because the combat feels fluid to me. But like, um, I find myself like even in Assassin's Creed, like I don't want a harder mode. I would rather just impose. I would rather just impose some difficulty on myself. Like for me, like sometimes I set the challenge myself. Like okay, I'm gonna go. Like when I was playing Odyssey, I'd be like, I'm gonna go into this camp, and I'm gonna not let anyone's like the challenge is no one's gonna see me or like see a body. Like that's fun. Like that's a challenge without it being just like more health on a person. Um, so I don't know. That's just a thought I had. Outside of those two games, of course, I've been upsetting myself and playing a little more FIFA. Why? I don't know. I just am. I can't stop myself. I like watching their stats go up. It's cathartic. And then for literally about 15 minutes, I booted up Destiny 2 on my PS5. I just wanted to see how it looked. It looks like Destiny in 4K. I mean, it looks good. But again, man, I just don't have time for those types of games as a service. So I'll probably leave it on there a bit, and I might like jump in just to look around at some of the like different planets and see how it looks on my like new TV. But I don't imagine I'll play it with much frequency. I think I mentioned last week I got Tony Hawk, like the Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake. I haven't yet put more time into that, but I'm hoping to get some time this week. Anyway, yeah, kind of out with a fizzle there, but that's what I've played this week. I imagine next week more Persona as well. I'm really just, again, it's one of those where it's just like, man, I want to see what happens at the end, so I'm really trying to like blast through it. So we'll see if I get there. But from what I understand, it's a pretty long game, so I may not. But anyway, let's get on over to the news. First, I mean, it's not really a story, but Greg, I sent you a video this week, an 8-minute gameplay of Returnal, which we talked about last week, best name in video games. And I put it on here because I was talking with someone on Twitter, and they were just like, man, is anyone else just like disappointed with their PS5 games right now? Like, I feel like there's yes, there are disappointments I have. Like, we've talked about the PS4 disc version of games installing, even if I have PS5. Like, I'll probably mention that every week until they fix it, because it's still insane that the PS5 tries to install 2 versions of the same game on my console. Like, they haven't figured that out. Crazy. But also, like, there just hasn't really been, like, we've got Spider-Man, which was, you know, it's more or less a PS4 game, but it looked really, really good, and obviously they put a lot into it for the PS5. You've got Astro's Playroom, which I know is just the pack-in game, but it feels like the only game that really uses, I mean, it's a tech demo, but it really pushes the PS5's controller to the edge. And then I played like Borderlands, which was like the PS5 upgrade, which was fine. Like, I played Siege. As you guys know, I'm playing Persona. It's just like I want that next gen experience, right? And it's not here yet. And Returnal is like one of the first games that feels like it's, I don't know if it's coming out for PS4, but I think it's just PS5. I'm not sure. But it feels like that one of those first games where they're trying to be like, yeah, here's a next gen game. So, Greg, you watched the trailer. What did you think?
I'm, just as I feel about its name sounding like there's a certain level of stink to it, I also feel like the game just looks the way it sounds in the nicest way.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's nothing about the gameplay footage that I was like, oh wow, and some of it's, again, being almost exclusively a PC gamer, I'm not as I'm not sitting here looking for graphics delivery, because I've seen extremely strong graphical games just by playing them on my computer versus a console. So there might be something like just worthwhile for the visuals of it for PS5, and it being that kind of first next gen game, quote unquote. But
yeah,
I just don't see myself, even when I do get a PS5, looking for that game.
Yeah, I think I'm a little higher on it than you are, just because of the Housemarque's pedigree, as we kind of talked about in the 2021 preview. Super Stardust. Oh God, what was that other game that I? One second, let me grab it. Super Stardust, like Matterfall, Next Machina, Alienation, Resogun. That's what I was thinking of on the PS3. Like, they kind of specialized in these bullet hells, so I think I'm a little higher on it just because it seems, this is a bit of a stretch, but like Risk of Rain 2 did a jump. Like, Risk of Rain was a 2D side-scrolling like roguelike, and by all intents and purposes was a pretty good game. Risk of Rain 2 is a 3D version basically of Risk of Rain 1, and playing that rogue type game in 3D was a really fun experience for me on PC. So, keeping in mind the pedigree of the dev, it is a PS5 exclusive. I just looked it up. This seems to be like kind of like a story-based rogue game, but also like kind of like a bullet hell, which they do really well. What I will agree on you on is like the visuals don't really like do much for me, at least in what they've shown. I imagine, and to your point, like, you know, like maybe it's something that's better on the PS5, but I imagine like that a lot of it's dark and dreary, because they're looking to take advantage of like HDR on a lot of folks' new 4K televisions, like my own here. So I'll probably get it just to see what that looks like, and obviously talk about it here. But yeah, there is something there that's just like, man, is this like, I don't think this is the game. Like, this is not a killer app, just from looking at it. But I think I'm still hopeful.
Yeah, the gameplay that we looked at, right? So it's an 8-minute video on YouTube, so feel free to check it out. But what I saw in that really just, to me, looked like it's you and like 2 to 3 monsters, and you're shooting at them, and you're just shooting and you're shooting, and then they die,
Right?
or you die, and that's it. And that's what the gameplay looked like, and it scares me that the game is supposed to come out in a couple months, and that's the gameplay hype.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just again, like I think with
I think it's gonna sell less than like I think it's gonna. I don't think you're gonna hear much more of Returnal.
I think we might, only because there are a ton of people out there with PS5s who are starved for like a new game. So I think we'll probably see, like, if it reviews okay, like, again, we're basing this off of 8 minutes of gameplay we saw. Like, I imagine there are some settings that we haven't yet seen, like a bunch of different weapons. It all really depends. Like, a bullet hell game isn't always impressive to watch, but if it feels good in the hand, like, if the controls feel good and the moment to moment gameplay is exciting, like, I can see it being successful. I don't see it being. It's not going to be a God of War or Horizon or like a cornerstone franchise for PlayStation. I can't imagine it is. I don't know. I think I think I tend to just be a little more optimistic with this title. So I don't know. We'll see. It comes out March 19th. So a few months from, about 2 months and 5 days from today. So I don't know. Keep your eyes out. We'll see. I imagine they're going to probably do some more promotion, especially considering this is one of the first PS5 games to come out. And I also think the folks at Sony wouldn't, you know how they are with their exclusives. I don't think they would make this, like, other than Miles Morales, like one of the first games to come out, if it wasn't if they didn't believe in it. So maybe
But
that's some
to your
brand
point, though,
fanboyism.
this is like so this is what happens in movies as well. If you have something that you're not too thrilled with, you put it out in January, put it out in February, because there's no competition.
Right. I think it's a little different now with video games, I think, because yes,
But if it's
like
just
you're
okay and you put it out right now, like you said, it's the only thing out there. There's nothing for it to compete with.
No, I mean, you bring up a good point, but yeah, like,
There's no loss there.
right.
Unless it's like absolutely, like, you know, buggy and horrible in that way. But if it's not buggy and it's just like not a great game, this is the perfect time to release it. It's the only way it'll ever sell.
Man, I feel like your mind's made up about this game already, huh?
It is. It is. Yeah.
All right.
I know. I'm not very. To be fair, I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of most third-person shooters,
Right.
especially ones that are not multiplayer. And I'm also not a huge fan of bullet hell games. So
Yeah,
I guess that's kind of like a fair disclaimer to put out there. But everything that I've watched of it, it just looks like okay.
I love
All
roguelikes, so I'm gonna have to give it a shot. But yeah, I mean, to your point, like, it would be suicidal to put this game next to Call of Duty, Like you just don't do that. So
Or it'd be
um,
suicidal to put
I mean,
it up against some of their actual killer apps.
I mean,
So they wouldn't.
Horizon came out in a February or March release window. It's just like the holiday release window is basically goes until March now because everyone just got their new consoles in November. So that's why it's a little different than
But
movies.
that was also like the first of that title. But now it's a killer app. It wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, so it's a good time to test that because it's up against nothing, so people play it.
Right. I mean, I guess so.
Like I know that like looking back it's like, oh yeah, Horizon's slam dunk, but
I mean, like
they didn't know that. They couldn't guarantee that moving into the game.
like Uncharted 4 came out in May, which isn't like typical.
That's when Star Wars comes out.
Last of Us,
movies.
yeah, but like summer is movie season, winter is
Right,
more
but that's
game
also
season.
like just like a time where like
Like-
kids have more time out of school and you want to put out.
God of War in 2018 came out in April.
Yeah, again, like that's later into the year where you're trying to like start to build up into your big seasons. You want to space out your big
It's
releases,
the first
right?
4 months of the year. I mean, I'm just, I guess my point is like Sony strategically uses like the first half of the year for their exclusives. So I wouldn't necessarily say that March is a knock against Returnal. Personally,
I only
But-
mean that in the sense that like they're better off putting this game up against no competition from any other platforms just in general.
oh, you're
for
totally. I
games,
mean, yes, you're right. You're right
because
there.
this game would not ever get purchased if there was another option. Is my feel for the game.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't know. That's a very pessimistic view, and I hope I'm wrong. I mean,
Very
like,
pessimistic.
I don't want anyone to fail that's worked on a project for that long. Just from what I've seen of like the combat from a few different other clips on YouTube, it just
Yeah.
it just
If
I don't
you
know,
if
like,
you have a feeling, you have a feeling, but I'm not willing to pass judgment until I get my
the other
hands
thing
on it.
that like kind of like, and this goes for any and this is kind of sparked by Cyberpunk, but there's kind of also like this kind of haze that I look at this new console generation out of now with how many performance issues that they've had with Cyberpunk, is that I'm wondering if they've overshot their mark a bit here.
What do you mean?
And I'm very cautious and nervous about the fact that I know that Cyberpunk, also wasn't properly optimized, but in there, and I know we're going to touch on this later, but they talked about it not being optimized for old gen consoles. But on new gen consoles, there's also a ton of issues. And I'm wondering if the developers of the games that we're going to see this year have overshot their marks on how well they thought games would run on the PS5 and Xbox.
I wouldn't use Cyberpunk as the example also for because Returnal is an exclusive, so it was developed specifically for this hardware, where Cyberpunk was like done for PC. Like
But the test
it's
kits that they
obviously done
based
was
it
for
off
PC.
Of, what if those test kits were like the primo, like Intel, when they release CPUs, they always like save a few to the side and they're like they're golden ones that benchmark way higher. There's always like some level of variance in between the console performance of one to the other.
Maybe
in terms of processors and GPUs, like there's always like a golden one, and that's probably what they get in test kits. Would be my guess is they give them the best one.
I mean, maybe, but also like I don't know. Spider-Man was fine, and it's Sony exclusives.
But isn't
they usually
Spider-Man
perform.
off the same engine that they already built the PS4 game for? So they just upscaled it.
I'm not sure, but like a lot of stuff was specifically like there's definitely a step up on the PS5. Like I've not had a ton of like actual game problems, like frame rates, any of that stuff with anything except Cyberpunk, to be clear here, on my PS5. So I don't really have any concerns about how Returnal
I suppose
run.
for exclusives, that should be like less of an issue. But I do wonder if there will be.
I don't think you have to worry about the PS5. I think you need to worry about the PS4 and the Xbox One. Like people who are trying to do both. Like that's where the issue comes in.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to just kind of let time play it out. I'm very skeptical of it though.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose. I think this like I feel like Sony and Microsoft have like their infrastructure for these newer consoles is pretty solid. And the fact that it's running all this stuff backwards compatible, like all the backwards compatible stuff I have so well is kind of sweet.
Yeah, that's definitely cool. I just think it's weird that they put 4K 120 frames on the box and 8K on the box for the PS5. I just don't see that that's going to be possible. So I'm just skeptical of some of these games that
I imagine the 8K is literally just for like Blu-rays and stuff. I don't think
yeah.
anyone's really going to be able to do that. But I mean, you look at the games that came out at the beginning of the PS3, PS4 to the like. Say what you will about The Last of Us, it was a good-looking game and then the beginning
Yeah,
of the generation.
sure.
Like, they're gonna find ways to push this thing to the limit. So like, there's gonna be some technical marvels to come. I'm confident in that. So, up next, Pokemon Snap. New trailer was released. I think it was that today? My days are all running together.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. I saw that from the link that you sent me, but I didn't check the date.
Yeah, with a release date April 30th. I'll just read a little bit from Nintendo's site. Seek out and take in-game photographs of Pokemon in their native environments in the new Pokemon Snap game, only for the Switch, blah, blah, blah. You'll even discover behaviors and expressions you've never seen before when you encounter and research lively wild Pokemon. You might see them patrolling their territory, playing, or lurking in out-of-the-way spots. Investigate the mysterious Illumina phenomenon, which they kind of like hint at the end of the trailer. And it says, travel to the islands that make up the Lentil region. In this region, some of the Pokemon and vegetation will appear to have a special glow, which I imagine is the Illumina phenomenon. Research these Pokemon alongside Professor Mirror as you explore dense jungles, vast deserts, and more. Your observations of Pokemon thriving in the wild may help unravel the truth behind the Illumina phenomenon. The Pokemon pictures you take will be used to build your very own Pokemon photo decks. This new game brings the gameplay of the 1999, holy shit, I did not realize it was that old, Pokemon Snap game for the Nintendo 64 system to life on the Switch. I don't know, Greg, I'll let you open up again. I don't know if you played any of these games when you were a kid or if you have any lover.
Yeah. I have played through Pokemon Snap a few times. I don't know why. There's just something fun about the game. But
that surprises me for some reason.
I just watched, like, I just read through some of the comments on the YouTube trailer for it because
Right.
I was trying to see when it was like the trailer was posted, and it was today. It was 10 hours ago. But
breaking news.
Somebody posted on here that Professor Oak isn't going to be talking crap about your pictures, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah, Professor.
I kind of like the, oh, that's a nice one. I'm gonna.
It's going to be Professor Mirror instead.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know who that guy is or what college he went to. So.
Yeah, I question his doctorate. Maybe he went to like Doctors Without Diplomas and got his MD or whatever.
Doctors Without Diplomas, is that a thing?
It's a Zach Galifianakis bit.
Oh, okay.
But
that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's special.
Should we start a hashtag like not my professor?
Yeah,
on Twitter.
I think that we could get that trending. I don't even know. I don't even have a Twitter, so that's probably a little bit hard for me to get trending. But what I will say is, if you do happen to go to Doctor Without Diploma, your insurance probably won't work. So I don't know. I mean,
definitely,
there's not really much to be said about this game. If you want to play it. It's going to be fun. If you have no interest in it, great. But it is a shooter. It's a camera shooter game. But it is FPS, first person shooter, quote unquote.
Yep. Yeah, shooter in a way. I don't know. I'll play it too. I don't have much more to say than it's probably like, I don't think anyone will expect anything else, but it's probably just gonna be Pokemon Snap again, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. I don't think I necessarily want to spend $60 on that, but it's Nintendo, so you're gonna have to.
Yeah, that's always the trick with their games, right? Like if it was like 35, 30, 40, somewhere in that range, it'd be easy to buy. But
yep.
Yeah.
Moving on, yesterday, you kind of alluded to it, but co-founder of CD Projekt Red, they issued a statement. Well, I saw it on Twitter. It was probably on their site and elsewhere, press releases. But the tweet reads, "Dear gamers, below you'll find CD Projekt's co-founder's personal explanation of what the days leading up to launch of Cyberpunk 2077 looked like. showing the studio's perspective on what happened with the game on old generation consoles. I mean, it's basically what you expect. A lot of sorries, a lot of we worked really hard, a lot of like we missed the mark. Obviously, they cite the difficulties of working from home during COVID. And then they show this like roadmap that basically shows the patches that they pushed out at the beginning of the year. And then like this big blob of time in the second half of 2021 that just says free DLC, and it says next gen console releases like towards the end of 2021, which just like they can't do anything that detailed.
Well,
because of all the
I think you're underselling this. They actually have so for anyone who hasn't seen the timeline, it's actually a lot thicker. Black, like, where they have multiple updates and improvement and some slashes there. So it's a lot better than what he's pointing out. I just want to give everyone I want to give them a fair shake.
Sorry,
here,
I didn't want to
definitely put a lot more thickness and bolding on the multiple updates and improvements.
Right.
So
yeah, that's my bad. Sorry,
and they have a good crosshair sort of thing for the free DLCs and the free next gen console update. So completely misrepresenting them for one.
Right. Oh yeah, they showed the hot fixes in 2020 also.
Yes, in green,
just to let you know that they did happen alongside their patches in early 2021.
And if you have a nice monitor that you're looking at this on, you might not catch it on a phone screen, but if you have it on a nice monitor, you'll notice there's slight orange dots in the background that look like you need to clean your monitor. You don't.
Those are definitely not orange. They're like gray. Right?
Okay. All right. That's fair. But they're everywhere, and you really do not need to clean your... You might have to clean your monitor. That's a separate issue.
I don't want to pick apart too much like up-and-coming developer CD Projekt Red, like their underdog story.
You're right. I'm being unfair.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on them. But, yeah, basically looking at this elegantly created chart. Does that work? Elegantly surfaced, dotted, designed, QA'd chart.
Thank you.
It's telling me that I probably will just play Cyberpunk in 2022. Like I think I'll probably just wait till 2022. And I mean, here's the thing, like I don't blame them for not putting dates on here when you look at the launch fiasco, and then obviously they delayed it 3 times ahead of launch too. So like there's no way that like no one in their right mind could put dates on this, but it is kind of funny that they even needed to put it on a chart. Like they probably could have just listed out some things that were coming up.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, August, but I've read their blog post before. I'll have to pull it up again just to make sure I'm not being unfair to them. But they list on there in close succession, which looks like, based on their timeline, that it should be within Q1, that we should expect patch 1.1 to Cyberpunk. They do not detail a single thing that is supposed to be in patch 1.1.
I feel like those already came out. Oh no.
No.
Those are
not the hot fixes. Those are the patches
that haven't yet come out. Okay.
According to the new, tell you what they're going to be patching within Q1. They just tell you there's going to be 2 patches, 1.1 and 1.2, within 10 days. But I don't think it actually details what's in the patch, which just means they just want to let us know that there's going to be one within 10 days from today. But they're not going to tell us what's in that because it's probably not of substance, right? If it was of substance, you would lead with that. And then there's going to be a larger patch in 1.2.
Which we also don't know.
Which is undetailed. But it's a larger one. They have to qualify it as a larger one because this one's going to be of no consequence.
And it says in the following weeks. Okay.
Right.
Well, hopefully that clears everything up, guys. Like Cyberpunk is fixed. But I'm sure we'll talk about patch 1.1 and 1.2 for at least a minute when they come out. I don't think Cyberpunk's the story we need to tell every single week, but it is kind of wild that we even are here. What? You got?
No, this article I'm reading, it just must be bad because it says that the patch should be the update will be launched on January 14th, but that can't be true because they just made this announcement.
No, I think it's supposed to be like 10 days from now.
Yeah, so
I think he said.
All right,
like 23rd-ish.
Oh, whatever. It was just a bad article.
Games journalism. Love it.
Yep.
Moving on. Hopefully, like let's get off soul crushing news or sad news and let's get back to cautious optimism. In Indiana,
real quickly, speaking of cautious optimism,
okay.
What is your level of care about? Not that we won't like cover things that relate to it, because I think it is, something that's interesting to follow, and I would like to care about it. How much do you actually still care about Cyberpunk?
I feel like I only don't care because I can't. Like I feel like I just shouldn't care. I got my refund back. I still really want to play that game. Like I really do. But now I've got this vision, like their advertising was so good that I feel like, and then the backlash was so bad that I feel like I need to give it so much time and space so that I can go back to it after after update 1.6, which is I've heard is going to be the biggest ever.
Yeah, that's the gray slash line area, the thicker slash line area for
right.
For the
when I'm like, all right, so when I think about Cyberpunk, I'm just like I just get this bad taste in the back of my mouth. Like I need to wait for that to fade before I'm ready to try it again. Like I own it on PC. Like I had a buddy, and thank you again, Cheese, for picking up Cyberpunk for me. Or he picked up Cyberpunk for me. So like I could play it on PC right now, but I just feel like there's so many other things that kind of just like need to be fixed. I'm sure there's like a bunch of quality of life improvements that are going to be added that I'm just going to wait, Like I feel like I waited to play The Witcher 3 like a year or so after it came out. Like I think both DLCs had already come out at that point. And that felt like I didn't have the same expectations that I did maybe on Cyberpunk, and that's partially on me, I suppose, but then I ended up being pleasantly surprised. So I think I just need to give it some time and space. Like, yeah. I don't know if you were ever excited about it. Were you?
I was excited to play it, but I didn't have the hype that it felt like the community surrounding me had.
Right.
Just because I don't know. I don't really have like a game that I'm usually ever like sitting around waiting for it to release.
Yeah.
The last time I really felt that way about a game, I was rewarded because I love Star Wars and Fallen Order was awesome. So that to me was for me, it's always about the story. And since I didn't really know a ton about like how Cyberpunk would like what my character would go through, or like what like the overlying like context of the world was, I knew what the world had in it, but I didn't know like what my mission would be or what my goal was. So I didn't have that hype around like the intrigue within the story as much, so I didn't have like the same level of hype as others.
Right.
If that's a fair way of putting it.
I actually think I tried to like hide myself from the hype too. I really didn't watch a lot of the previews, and I wasn't planning on pre-ordering it. I think it was the day before. I was like, I should probably play this to like talk about it on the podcast, right? So that's when I got it. But yeah, it was just still so far below what I anticipated that, and I think it's also like, I think it's compounded by the fact that, like, not only was development affected by COVID, but I think expectations were heaped upon Cyberpunk as well, because it was like, wow, like The Witcher was a 120-hour game, and now I get this really cool new like Blade Runner style video game made by the guys that did The Witcher, and winter's coming up, and like it's been a real shit year, so it's gonna be great to kind of like jump into this world and like augment, and it's a GTA in the future, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I feel like
that there was
some of that culturally as well.
Yeah, there was like a decent, and I think it still probably exists, that would have, if I told a certain, grouping of fans for Cyberpunk, I can give you the vaccine to COVID right now, or I can give you Cyberpunk in its promised fashion. I think that it would be like, it'd be a tough, like, it'd be a close call for a lot of people. And for me, I'm like, just stab me with that needle. But, for other people, it was like, maybe, I could stay inside for a few months and play this and wait till I get it normally. So.
All right, Greg, how do you feel for this next story? How do you feel about whips?
In the bedroom?
Just, I don't know, like in general, like, I mean, I don't know if you want to broadcast that to everyone, but like, let's just say in general, like related to but let's say outside the bedroom.
But I don't know if I'd feel comfortable using one in public.
Right. Okay. But not necessarily negative.
No.
Okay. All right. How do you feel about hats?
Hats?
Like
bucket hats?
like an explorer's hat. Well, not your definition of bucket hats, even though I do.
Well, me
love
and your
bucket hat.
roommate Alex, we bought, like kind of bucket hats to, drink with. 'Cause we thought
Right.
it'd be a good idea.
Right. And I mean, they were really like they were fishing hats, but that's fine. Like I think I remember you guys couldn't like find where'd you guys get those anyway?
We went to Walmart, of course.
A classic bucket hat distributor.
We
Walmart.
actually Ubered there because we were too drunk to drive.
Oh my god, college days. Okay, so
Just to buy hats.
all right,
So that's on
so
the porch.
definitely positive on bucket hats and fishing hats. But how about like an explorer's hat? How do you feel about that?
Generally
also positive. Okay, so if I told you the Machine Games ZeniMax of Wolfenstein fame was making an Indiana Jones game, like how would you feel?
I generally feel positive about it, but it's a little bit sad that's not Temple Run 3.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like that's what I was thinking as well, but
Give the fans what they want.
give the fans
Right.
what they want. Temple Run 3, please. But anyway, a teaser came out for it was nondescript in what it was. It said Machine Games. It did a slow pan over a table with some objects on it, and then the good old explorer's hat was removed from the table to reveal Indy's whip. So there's again made by Machine Games, Wolfenstein fame. So you have to imagine there's going to be like it. You would imagine it's going to be a third-person action game, even though Wolfenstein's like a first-person shooter. But that also indicates it's probably going to have some shooting elements, while Indiana Jones doesn't do like a ton of shooting. This is probably like I don't know. They're probably not gonna just like do a Harrison Ford clone, like because here's the quote. It says, "The game will tell a wholly original standalone tale set at the height and career of the famed adventurer." And then the teaser goes on to hint that it might take place in Rome. I don't know, Greg. What do you think? Harrison Ford or no?
Probably not.
Right.
Maybe he makes an appearance as like a little goofy cameo somewhere as like, like an older, archaeologist that, like is like a bump in sort of thing. But
Right.
I imagine that this game, I think it has legs, and I think it's got a great set of legs on it. There's compared to other IPs that try to enter the video game space, there isn't a lot of canon that you have to worry about interfering with when it comes to Indiana Jones in comparison. To like something like Harry Potter that we talked about.
That's a great point.
Hyped up games. There's just not. Maybe there's books that I don't know about, but I mean, there's 4 movies. The last one had Shia LaBeouf, and now you get to do something that doesn't have Shia LaBeouf in it, probably. So I mean,
Probably.
it seems like
We can't be sure.
It seems like a natural fit for this because exploration, use the whip to kind of like a grappling hook, and
Mhm.
you got Nazis chasing after you, and you kill the Nazis, or
Yep.
you do whatever Indiana Jones does to Nazis, and
In Machine Games, no stranger to killing Nazis with Wolfenstein.
Yeah,
So
I
Hot-
mean,
lot of
it seems
pedigree
like
there.
this is like the type of game that, similar to Tomb Raider, where they can really, just kind of in a consensual way have their way with it. And I think I just
no
think
whips
that it's
involved or consensual.
right? No,
Consensual
you're right,
whips.
whipping.
Yeah.
No, but like jokes aside, right? Like, doesn't it just seem like a natural fit for this kind of franchise to move in this direction?
Right. Like you think they're probably gonna do like a soft reboot in the sense that like Tomb Raider did it a few years ago. So that makes
something
sense.
along those
Yeah.
lines.
So considering it's Machine Games and they're under ZeniMax and obviously Microsoft acquired ZeniMax, like you have to imagine this is a part of Microsoft's gambit for their Game Pass and streaming services and PC and Xbox. I don't think they said anything about exclusivity yet, but you would imagine with Uncharted being on PlayStation, like this is their Uncharted, right?
It could be. It also just and I think that it really just depends on Lucas Films, Lucas Games. I guess so this is the division for this, because its parent company is of course Disney, and they're all about suiting as many people as possible. So do they
Right.
really want to segment their market? It just depends if it's Bethesda and Microsoft's call, ZeniMax, call, or if it is,
It's
something
Disney.
that's
It's got to
left
be
to.
Disney's call, right? Like at the end of the day, they can do whatever they want, right?
Right, like, hey, we're not going to license out your IP for you to sell to 35% of the market or 50% of the market, whatever
Right.
PC plus Xbox versus PlayStation is. I know that Xbox plus PC is probably closer to the majority versus PlayStation, but I don't know how many PC gamers really qualify for that type of thing because a lot of people just play like CS:GO on their on their
Other
PC or
PC,
just
yeah.
like can they really run
So
the
like
demanding
me,
game that this requires because you're going to need a 20 series Nvidia graphics card
right?
or a 1080 Ti or something by the time this game comes out. So I don't know what the true market share is, but I don't think that that's really like a Disney thing to say, oh, only so and so people can play our game.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, you look at Spider-Man. Obviously, it's a different scenario because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man's movies. I don't know. Spider-Man's rights are all jacked up,
That
but they
that's
basically have
that's
an agreement
that's
to
no
like
different though
trade.
than Nintendo saying, hey, you can't make a Zelda game or a Mario game on your on. You know what I mean? Like, although it doesn't feel like it should be that way with Spider-Man, it feels like he should be able to be on all consoles. It's no different than a Nintendo character in a lot of ways. The way that I understand the licensing for him to work.
Yeah, something like that. It's kind of it's just wild to think that like there's an Avengers game out there and Spider-Man's exclusive to one console with that game because Spider-Man's like
Oh, for sure.
such a like he's not technically an Avenger, but he's so close to the Avengers in a lot of comic lore that like that's just it's wild. Um, but yeah, no, like I said, no release date or really any info other than that teaser. Something to keep an eye. I imagine this is still a ways away. But moving on, it wasn't the only announcement this week as far as new like AAA games. Ubisoft is making an open world Star Wars game, and it's made by Massive Entertainment, the team that brought you the Division 2, Far Cry 3, Assassin's Creed Revelations. So, not to get too pessimistic, my hope is, of course, that it's not like an MMO style game like like the Division is. Like that's exactly what I hope it isn't. Well, I think there's some potential there. There's a game there that could be cool, right? But as I said with Destiny earlier, I'm so far over these like games as a service. You would think it's more like a Far Cry or an Assassin's Creed, perhaps. I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah. So Fallen Order 2 is 2022.
Right.
Is the release for that game or the rumored release for that game. So I have a feeling that along the lines of the Mandalorian, this could be like a similar type of style of shooting game. I don't know if that makes it. I think the way that they say open world adventure leads me to believe, or at least I think I saw that somewhere, that it makes me believe that it's going to be a single player experience, but I don't know. They made the Division 2, so if it's bounty hunters, I mean that kind of fits the mold of the Division games. But I think that's what we're going to see is something along those lines, not necessarily like lightsaber combat.
Right.
Um, but
Like you
we'll
think that's
see.
taken care of by like Fallen Order?
Yeah, I think that so again, when it comes to IPs, and if you want to do a lightsaber based game, you are touching on a lot more lore than you might want to be than you might want to bite off, right?
Right.
Because now
Like
you're talking about the Jedi's and things like that, and you now have to deal with canon. Whereas when you go to like something like the Mandalorian or Bounty Hunter esque, you don't have to touch on as much lore because of course there are bad guys that exist out in the
right,
world.
because like to a lot of people, the Jedi are like kind of a myth, and the Force is just like a thing that
Right.
they don't like. They've just heard of it from another guy who heard it from another guy. So like,
Right, exactly.
yeah. I don't know. The thing for me is though, like I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans like, what's the coolest thing in Star Wars though? Like it's the lightsaber, like people
It
want
is.
you want to use the lightsaber. So I mean, that's I think why Fallen Order is so sweet. But I don't know.
Oh, you're not wrong about that. And I think that it's a tough thing. It's a tough sell to make a game that's not lightsaber based. But at the same time, I mean, without going in touching on any sort of spoiler or any. I don't want to go too much into any spoil any content that's out there, but like the first series, the first season of Mandalorian didn't have a single lightsaber involved, and was extremely successful. So
Right.
I haven't watched the second season yet. I just kind of wait for all of them to be out and then
They
binge
are
watch
now,
them when I have a free weekend.
by the way.
Oh,
I just did it. I just did that
haven't had,
myself.
like,
Totally worth it.
I haven't had the free weekend to do it yet,
Right.
but I just think that that you can depart from that and still be successful, and I think that that's probably where this game leans, because I think, again, with Fallen Order 2, then you're kind of stepping on some toes potentially.
Right. And I don't know, I'm with you. Like I said, like I really enjoyed Solo, even though it was pretty canon. I mean, it's Han Solo, but like it had this like Wild West feel, heist feel, and it's stuff that like the main movies can't offer me. Like I've said it before, I could give two shits about Luke Skywalker, honestly. Like, he's cool, whatever. Darth Vader, whatever, I guess. Big fan of Obi-Wan, I'll say. But I don't know, like, get away from the Skywalkers and the Solos and the Vaders, the big names of the main franchise, and get down into the Outer Rim and, people on different planets that don't know what the Jedi are, and like world build. I'm all for that.
Definitely.
Yeah, for that.
It's just one of those things that, like, it takes a certain level of stepping back from reality to enjoy Star Wars in the first place. It's people that are like swinging energy swords, and
right.
like, you watch the movies, and if you watch them with someone who's never seen them before, it's like, how did he just choke that guy? But it's like, oh, well, of course he was using the Force. I mean, how did Mace Windu just get elected? Well, he shoots lightning out of his hands. Like,
yeah, and it ages
him. It always starts with a galaxy far, far away, and and all that. Like, go there then. Like, there can be a lot of galaxies far, far away that exist in this time space.
Right.
So,
well, it's like what we talked about with Last of Us 2 during Game of the Year, was it? I think it was during Game of the Year, where it's like, I like the world you built with Last of Us. Like, get me away from the characters that I care about now. Like, make me care about someone new. I'm fine with that story. We don't have to tell it again, and we don't have to, like, I don't know. There's always fan service. I don't need that. Like, I really don't. Like, I'd rather have a wink rather than like a, hey, do you remember this? Here's that person who's right here now. Yeah, like, out of nowhere. We just made it up because there was a gap in their timeline. So, I don't know. I kind of buried the lead here, but and you mentioned Lucasfilm's games, but there was a rebrand for like LucasArts, like Lucas, everything was kind of all over the place, and they've officially like rebranded and brought everything under one umbrella called Lucasfilm's Games. And that's kind of what's piloting some of this new Star Wars content, which leads us to our next topic here. I kind of just wanted to reflect really quickly. That means that EA's exclusivity of the Star Wars franchise, at least in video games, is over. A Disney statement: EA has been and will continue to be a very strategic and important partner for us now and going forward, but we did feel like there's room for others, which is kind of telling. And then EA came out. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just gonna say, I thought that I saw somewhere that EA has been placed in charge of their microtransactions division.
Really? That sounds like a meme. Is that true?
No, dude.
I was like, oh my God.
Do you really think that they have a microtransaction?
Listen, man, it's like maybe. Like, maybe.
You're not wrong.
This point, yeah, like, is that so crazy to think about that there's a micro,
no.
like it wouldn't be called microtransactions division, but it would be like Department of Strategic Add-ons or something, actually, right? Like, what would you call that? Department of squeezing water from a stone. I don't know what you would call that.
Yeah, the MTDs. Yeah, the microtransactions. Oh yeah. Oh, is that Gary? Oh God.
Oh man, not Gary again.
I really hate those guys.
But EA, when pressed for statement, I think this was to Polygon, they said, "We are proud of our long-standing collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, which will continue for years to come. Our talented teams have created some of the most successful games in the history of the Star Wars franchise," and they go on to list them, "and we look forward to creating more exciting experiences for players to enjoy." So Man, the year, honestly, like 2014 to 2020, like zoomed past for me. I didn't realize how long they've had this exclusivity, but I just wanted to list off like some of the games they made. Obviously, they did the Battlefront reboot, 1 and 2, both coming out sort of like middling, and I'll say like even on the topic of microtransactions, like gaining some backlash, and I think they earned back some of the, like, you know, I don't think the devs are ever really looking out to do. I mean, those are boardroom decisions for all those microtransactions, right? Like there was a good game in there, and they looked damn good. But Battlefront 1 and 2, Jedi Fallen Order, obviously Star Wars Squadrons just came out. They had Star Wars Galaxies, I think was an EA game, which is their mobile game. And this, I think, predates their exclusivity, but they've got the Old Republic MMO as well. So when you think about it, like a publisher the size of EA, that's not really prolific. Like I kind of expected, like we just talked about like the lightsabers, like the weapon, and Jedi Fallen Order's like the only game out of there where you're really like, that's your main, like you can get it in Battlefront, sure, but that's like a treat when you get to be a Jedi or
That's
a
part
Sith
of the
Lord.
MTD, I believe. At least that's how it released.
Right. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to reflect on what EA did, and I wonder if like Disney, looking at that output, they're like, well, we need to. We're expanding our cinematic universe with Disney Plus. It's time to open Pandora's box for games as well. So I don't know, and I know you like Fallen Order. I don't know if you've played any of the others. I have Squadrons. I don't know why I haven't been motivated to play it. I think Battlefront almost like damaged Squadrons for me because the flying in Battlefront's so not that great. I've heard it's better in Squadrons, but you know.
You'd think that they would have, like, you would hope that they would have, like, I don't know. It seems like this, I guess 6 years isn't that long. But man, like, really, like, the takeaway game on this list for me is only Fallen Order. And that's because I didn't play the MMO, and I don't play mobile games. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
1
like
and 2 were kind of write-offs for me. Like, I like I still, actually, you know what I've played recently, and I still play, is I played the old Battlefront 2 that came out on PS2.
Right.
I like
I
that
think
game.
I think there was some. I think servers are back online, or someone did work to like mod servers for that game again. So I think you can play that with people, which is kind of sweet. But yeah, like Battlefront's Battlefront, right? It's cool. It's style, not a ton of substance. Like you can play it for an hour, but like, I don't know, how much do you get out of it? Fallen Order was like the killer app out of that. Squadrons was a $40 title. Like, it's kind of wild that there isn't another like original IP, or like what were those Star Wars games that came out on the PS3 and 360 with like not Star Killer, what, I forget what is. Force Awakens. No, that's the movie.
No, it was
where you're the
Force
bad
Unleashed.
guy. Force Unleashed. Yeah, like nothing a la Force Unleashed. I guess Fallen Order is that, but
it's because stepping on the IP of Star Wars is really hard to make games.
Right. But still, like there were rumors, like I said, about like Star Wars 1313 and like, you know, Old Republic single player stuff. Like there was that really old BioWare RPG. Like there's room for RPGs and stuff you can tell like outside of the Skywalker universe that you would hope EA would have done. But I don't know. I just wonder what the conversations were in the background. So
look, if the MTD cannot get involved, it's not worth making.
I mean, that's kind of part of it.
Gary
right?
comes over to your desk and he's like, "Hey, what are you working on?" You're
Damn
like,
it, Gary!
"Oh, I made this really cool RPG game. I've got this concept with like this great, like it's gonna be this sweet Jedi game."
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, no, not gonna work. I can't. How am I gonna get MTDs in there?
Yeah.
Stop.
Go away,
fired.
Go away,
You're
Gary.
Fired.
You're fired. You're hired back. We love you too much, Gary. Come on back. Come on back. We're putting you on Indiana Jones. Get out here. Get over here. He's come on here, Gary.
Why don't you go work on FIFA Ultimate Team?
Yeah. Oh my God. Seriously though. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. Star Wars is cool. It's like, I don't know. It was like pop culture, and then it went away, and then it was kind of like nerd culture again, and now it's definitely pop culture again. So or maybe it always was. But competition's good, so I'm excited to see what this Ubisoft game has to offer. Next story up here, we've got Riot and Bungie are teaming up. No, not for a game. They're suing cheat creators. Story, I think I forget where I read it now. I think I want to say The Verge or Polygon, but a cheating software creator is facing a lawsuit from Riot Games and Bungie for producing hacks for their games Valorant and Destiny 2. Riot spokesperson told Polygon that cheating undermines a game's competitive integrity and erodes community trust. Riot is wholly committed to upholding these values for its players, so when we become aware of a cheat maker, you bet we're going to go after them. And that's kind of wild because Valorant has one of the most intrusive anti-cheats out there that actually upset a lot of people. So I don't know, Greg. Like there's a conversation around privacy here. Like, do you trade some of your privacy for peace of mind that like for your time that you're playing against other people? Or like is your privacy so important that like you want the community, like do you want to be like using in-game tools to suss out cheaters? Like it's kind of a interesting topic.
I still don't understand why this is
like why people
difficult
cheat
to do. Like if you make a game free to play, then you should have the account tied to something that isn't easily reproduced. Like
you mean like hardware
a
bans?
credit card number. Something along those lines. Like I don't understand why that's that hard. Like that's what Faceit does, right? That's what all these other companies do is you have to pay for it.
Right.
So you get their anti-cheat. Because
right.
the anti-cheat is that you can't have a million credit cards.
Yeah, like
Would you rather give up your SSN or like when you're in the game, whatever you're doing on your computer at the same time, give that up?
I don't know. That's kind of weird to think about. Like it's an interesting
Would
conversation.
You put in your social security number? Probably, right? Like what's the difference? What are they gonna do?
I don't know, man. Because if someone gets like, I don't know if I trust their own security because someone accesses that database.
Would you sell your social security number right now for $2 million?
Would I sell it? No. For $2 million? No, because the damage that can be done to you with your social security number, like the debt they could rack up for you with your social,
just, like,
and
buy a new one. Just buy someone else's then.
Buy it for $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you find like
then you're up $1 million and you've got
dumb, dude. I'm just so dumb at how all this stuff works.
Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, it's just business.
Like there's got to be an easier way, right?
The thing for me, it's like it feels like a half step because yeah, they've got their intrusive anti-cheat, but it's like yeah, you're going after the cheat maker, which does make sense, but it also feels like you could do something more in your game, but you don't want to do too much to your game because if you require a credit card number, maybe that stops someone from downloading your game at all, and then you're losing. Then who's the opposite of Gary? Doug. Then Doug is pissed.
It looks like it's going well for Riot and Bungie though, because I went to GatorCheats.com in compliance with the lawsuit filed by Riot Games and Bungie. Gator Cheats will be shut down indefinitely.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, also like. I don't know. I like why are you cheating? Like what joy do you get out? Like I can't imagine any level of joy coming out from like you didn't actually earn anything or do anything. Like you're not actually good at the game. You're like what? Cuz you're flexing on clout, like video, like e-clout that you've gained. If you're like cheating on the low.
I mean, we did say at the top like sometimes we like playing on easy mode.
Yeah, I guess. And they think that's easy mode for the man. It's just at the expense of other people. It's just crazy.
Right, so, and if this is a taboo topic, you can cut me off. But like, you know, when I was younger, I like to, you know, sometimes smoke weed, and there was some certain danger to that, right? Because I wasn't getting caught.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe
so,
like it. Maybe it's like kleptomania.
Like of like, oh, I'm so good, and they think I'm so good, but I'm cheating. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's something to that where it's like, oh wow, this guy's amazing, dude, nice. Oh, you clutched that. What? Well, how did you hit that headshot? It's like, oh, I'm so good. I'm so good at this game, but it's not that you're good at the game. You're cheating, but they
Right.
don't know that. So you feel good. You're sitting at home
Mm.
and you don't have friends to play with,
Well,
maybe, or whatever the case may be, and you cheat.
that doesn't explain spin botters, I guess. Because
Well, that's
spin
just
botter,
funny
that's just
for
blatant.
them. They just
Yeah.
think it's funny.
Well, yeah, they just take joy in other people's misery.
Yeah,
That's
just sadistic in a way or something.
Yeah, I guess we're just getting deeper into like the human condition at that point. But
But
I
people
don't
have
know.
always cheated at something, right? Like, if they're not doing drugs to get muscles, what else are they doing?
Right? Yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe it is just the human condition. Like getting a one up is more important to them than like any level of integrity. Just
Yeah.
I don't know. I cheat in The Sims and I cheat in GTA single player. Not even like GTA 5, like the older ones. When it was like Vice City, it was fun to cheat in. Like cheats used to be a part of the game, which was fun. Like big heads and GoldenEye, but everyone was still on an equal playing field. This is just, like you said, kind of sadistic.
It's gotten too far.
Yeah, don't cheat, guys. I don't think anyone listening to this
And
podcast
if you're
would
gonna
be a
cheat,
cheater.
win. Don't be a bad cheater. Be a good cheater.
The statement from Greg does not reflect the statement. Does not reflect
Well,
the
I'm just saying,
beliefs
if you're gonna
of Bread
cheat,
Radio.
You better be good. I don't want you to cheat and aim lock me and then I beat you, because that
Right.
makes you look like a fool and it just makes me
Oh
mad.
man! But is there
But if you
anything?
cheat and kill me, at least you did your job.
Is there anything more like satisfying than watching those videos where like cheaters get caught, like in the act, like streamers and stuff, like where they accidentally like show their hack screen? Oh,
Yeah,
chef's
there
kiss.
is some level of
Mwah.
comfort to it, but at the same time, that means that, depending on what their viewership's like, if their cheats were that undetectable, it also gives an element of they could be a cheater too.
What do you mean?
It's
Like
like
their viewers?
McCarthyism,
Oh,
Who
like
out there is a
red,
communist,
red
Who
scaring.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, like if they're getting away with it streaming and everything, and nobody's really detecting, and then all of a sudden it's because of their lapse in judgment that they show their cheats.
Oh yeah, it's
That
like
means
who? Yeah.
You never know. I could be cheating. You could be cheating. Maybe we're both cheating.
Maybe
That's
we
why
are.
we're in
Maybe
Silver One.
maybe we're just projecting. That's what we're doing.
We are.
Anyway, fuck cheaters. That's the statement I have on that. Anyway, last story, little tidbit. Actually, something I forgot to mention because you brought it up earlier. The Hogwarts game. I just have
Yeah.
one sentence. It was delayed to 2022. Hogwarts
That makes sense.
Legacy, I think. So
Yeah, I kind of figured that would happen at the time.
Yeah. I would imagine there are a bunch of people looking at their games now that, like, after Cyberpunk came out, and they're like, all right, is this ready? Like, because we're not, like, especially someone like Harry Potter is a beloved franchise. Like, there are fanatics out there. So, like, if they're not confident that it's going to be ready,
and I mean,
like, just
again, though,
just
it's
push
just
it.
surprising that the studio that brought us Cars 3 is just not ready.
Yeah, Cars 3, exactly. What's the name of it? What was it? Avalanche. There was two. There was like Avalanche,
Like Avalanche Software.
Avalanche
Studios,
Software,
it's
and
one of the two.
Yeah, can't. One of them's Just Cause, which wouldn't give me like a ton of confidence, I guess.
It'd give me more than Cars 3.
Have you played Cars 3? That's what we need to do. We need to make you play Cars 3 on
I
YouTube.
think we all need to play Cars 3.
We all need to play Cars 3. See what it's about.
I think that, maybe that's like the hidden vaccine, right? Is just a little Cars 3.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
where
you
it
had
is.
a tough day at work.
Cars
Play
3.
Cars 3.
Cars 3. I've got Cars 2. No good. Cars 3.
No, get out of here, Gary. What is he doing?
Gary, what are you doing? Dude, not again, bro.
Go back to microtransactions.
Get out of here.
Don't bring those into Cars 3.
Throw that game away. Get over here, though. Come on, Gary. Get back over.
Yeah,
Last news story I have. It might be a non-story. The official site for Killzone was retired and now redirects to PlayStation.com.
Wow.
Which could, it could indicate, like, is Killzone dead? I mean, it's dormant right now, definitely. Or it could just be like maybe websites for a game like an exclusive like Killzone, like, is a relic from the past. Like, they don't need to pay for the server space.
Well,
it's not getting hits anymore.
And also, I mean, to be fair, in today's in today's world, are you really gonna make a system exclusive FPS competitive shooter? Probably not.
I mean, Halo. Well,
Halo,
not
but
today. Yeah.
Halo's different. That those are
Right.
two separate entities.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Do you have
I
any
just
love
don't
for
think there's a
Killzone?
market. It's like what about SOCOM? You know, they're not making that game again.
Yeah, I think that's more because their game, like third person competitive shooter, like Gears isn't really a competitive game anymore. Like it was cool for a time, but I feel like third person shooters aren't really like
Yeah, that's definitely part of it as
right.
well.
Like FPS is king, right? Are there any third persons I can think of? Not off the top of my head.
Um,
Something will probably
well,
come to me after
Fortnite
that.
is third
Oh yeah,
person.
that's fair. But that I mean, BR's like BR's BR, right? But
Yeah,
man, Fortnite
yeah.
in first person would just be a nightmare, wouldn't it? Trying to build and just seeing shit pop around you everywhere. That would be terrible. But yeah, that's a good point. Fortnite. I rest your case. You win.
Apex is Apex third person? No, it's
No,
not.
that's first person.
I
But
don't
like
know play it. We played it for a short period of time and it was cool, but
I
it
yeah,
was hard for me to get used to.
that's another one of those that's just like it's just so fast and hectic that it doesn't do it for me. I wouldn't have survived during the Quake era, I guess, arena shooters. Um, did you ever play Killzone? Do you have any love for Killzone?
I think I played one on like the PS3,
Right.
but not enough that like I have anything to say about it other than what I've already said. That I just think
I would
you
play
know
another Killzone game. I feel like Killzone always had the potential to be like pretty sweet and then just fell just short. Like I played Shadowfall, I think was the last one that came out. It was like a near launch or launch title for the PS4 and like those games have always looked really good. Like I think it was Killzone 2 or 3 I played on the PS3 when it came out too. Like looked really good. But I was always left for wanting just a little bit more. I don't know what it was. It always felt like a 6 or a 7 rather than like an 8 to 10 type of game. So I don't know. Maybe that's a non-story, but thought it was worth mentioning because I don't know. There are a couple franchises I'd like to come back. Killzone might be one of them. It hasn't been gone that long. Really want Resistance to come back, which is an exclusive shooter that was on like a launch title for PS3. I hope it comes back someday. Now that Insomniac's in house at PlayStation, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know.
Resistance was cool. I don't know. I just think it's really if you're looking for an online multiplayer game, the problem as well is all of these games are free to play now. CS:GO, Valorant, Warzone,
Right.
Fortnite. You have to compete with a free game.
Yeah, like how do you justify that? And then like
yeah, because you're getting a free AAA game or you're getting a $60. I don't know, and like all of these games only exist because of large player bases. You can't have an online shooting game that's multiplayer without the players.
yeah,
So
it's like saturated.
if you're not
now.
going to go free, then you're not going to have the player base potentially, and then your game's washed before it ever started.
Right. Like there's this game Spellbreak I was kind of wanting to try,
Yeah, I
but
saw that.
it looks like I downloaded it. I give it a shot, but I just like I look at them and I'm just like, well, I feel like I should just play Overwatch. You know, like am I gonna put time? Like, if I put time into this, is it gonna be here in 6
I guess
months?
Overwatch 2 will probably be one of the last few $60 shooters that gets bought, right?
Yeah, but I think Overwatch 2 is a weird one because it's like you don't need Overwatch 2 to play Overwatch still.
Right,
It's
it's
like
just story mode, right? Essentially.
I don't know if I don't think they're going to splinter themselves with more maps either. Like I think you still get that stuff in Overwatch 1. I don't know. They'll make money hand over fist, but their messaging is
I
really
guess maybe
weird
like
about
the
that.
new Halo will be one of the
Is
the
Overwatch
only,
2
like-
supposed to come out this year?
I'm not sure.
Like I feel like they talked like
They've
they announced it.
for, like a long time ago, right?
Yeah, like they announced it a long time ago and then like kind of just went away. So I get
I'm
like
not sure
that's
on that one to be honest.
yeah, I kind of just saw that and I was just like, yeah, whatever, I guess. Anyway, yeah, that's our show. I think I don't have any more news stories. We don't have any emails in. Again, breadradiolive at gmail.com. Any closing thoughts, Greg?
No. You know, another good talk and the interesting
Another
stuff to see on the
story in the
horizon.
books.
I think that like I'm actually more excited about, and granted these are related to IPs that I'm more interested in potentially,
Mhm.
but I'm more interested in like some of these like games that are like I think this is like for all of the anticipated, and there's going to be good games within 2021, but it's always like a couple years after the releases of consoles and things like that.
Right, exactly.
That like the real meat and potatoes comes out, and so I'm excited to eat some of that
Yeah.
and play some of
I
that. Whatever you want to do with your meat and potatoes. If you're vegetarian, just eat the potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes are great.
They're great. Makes
You can even
vodka.
make a little clock out of them. You probably did in 8th grade or whatever.
Electric potatoes. Yeah, Hitman 3 comes out this month. I actually got my Cyberpunk refund and reinvested. I'm going to get Hitman this month. Like I said, I know I got burned on the Cyberpunk train. But I've played Hitman 1 and 2, so I already know I'm going to like it. So I felt comfortable pre-ordering that. Still really stoked about Deathloop. Like, there's good stuff coming out there. What's that? What was the Overdrive? Was that the like I want to play that with you for sure. Like I actually just saw that on the PlayStation's, like after we had talked about it, I actually saw it like highlighted on the PlayStation store. I mean, if it's not crossplay, it's a
Outriders.
Shooter. Outriders. That's it.
That's on April Fool's Day.
Not a great name.
No, that sounds like a $20 game.
Not the worst name, but yeah, it's definitely not. It doesn't. Obviously, it didn't stick in my mind. So
no, it's not a great name. It sounds like a $20 indie game. And then it doesn't have as much stink as Returnal, but it's not great.
Right. So, anyway, guys, thanks so much.
No, any guy's fine.
Any guys. Thank you guys for joining us today on Bread Radio, episode 21. We're trending towards hopefully record listens again this month. So something we're doing is right. Really appreciate all the support from you guys, just getting listens here and there. Again, check out linktree.com/breadradio. Or you can it's one of those websites that does they don't have a .com, where you can just do linktr.ee/breadradio. So it spells like linktree/breadradio, So you'll find our Patreon there, links to the merch, the Spotify and Apple Podcasts link. I didn't put there. We're on so many different podcast apps. I just put the two heaviest hitters on there for now. But again, if you listen on Stitcher or TuneIn, it's out there as well. If you tell a friend, they're like, well, I listen on our iHeartRadio. Are they on iHeartRadio? Like, yes, we are. So, if you want to, no mail this week. Looking forward to getting some mail from the listeners. You can write in at breadradiolive@gmail.com for those. You can find me on Twitter at It's Bread Time if you want to just see some of my insane thoughts throughout the week. But again, we couldn't do this without you guys. And Greg, I couldn't do this without you, of course. So thanks for being here. And we'll see you guys next week for episode 22. Have a good night.